And we are back live with Beatriz Martinez of Triumph Steps. Beatriz, thank you so much for joining me on the program tonight.
Thank you so much for having me, Grant. I'm very excited about this opportunity.
As am I. So tell our listeners a little bit about Triumph Steps and how you guys help kids understand their emotions and extend their ability to listen to others.
Okay. All right. So, Triumph Steps is an emotional literacy program. I like to call it emotional literacy because it's kind of the terms that schools understand, children understand. And I always go by helping them understand that happiness is a skill that can be learned. And so if it can be learned, obviously we can teach it. And the best place to teach it would be in schools. And we forgot completely to teach the most important class in schools. So my idea is to teach each child universally, not in therapy, but that we actually bring a class into a school system that would be called hopefully emotional literacy, and that we would be teaching children that thoughts and emotions are connected. And if we understand that thoughts and emotions are connected, then if we change our thoughts, we can actually change our emotions and we can be happier. So
That
we
is a
try to.
phenomenal point. I'd like to just point that out. That is a phenomenal idea. So you guys are trying to actually make a formal school course out of it?
Well, we have a program.
Yeah.
My dream it's to make it a course. I go to Tallahassee. I advocate in Washington D.C. to make this a course, just like math and science. So children would be because there are programs that address emotional literacy. They call it social emotional learning as well. But the problem is that we have these courses, and if we don't give time in the school day to do these things, it really becomes one more thing for teachers to do, and it's not done because teachers are very concerned, and they have to be very busy about the standardized testing and about GPA scores and basically teaching children just factual knowledge, and so they don't make time for this class. So one of my big advocacy efforts when I go to Tallahassee, it's making them understand that yes, we have, because the Florida Department of Education actually addresses 12 components. And in one of them, they have bullying prevention, substance abuse, they have healthy relationships, and they have mental health. But we have all these programs, and we don't give in the schedule a time to really teach it. So they begin to
Ah.
put these little programs in PE or in any art class, or, they try to fit it in anywhere they can, and it really becomes one of these check boxes. Okay, yes, I did it here, right? I did healthy relationships or teen dating violence, and so it becomes like a check box. My dream is to really make emotional literacy a class, so children would have math and language arts and then emotional literacy. Well, there would be a time where we can really have the ability to teach these principles to children.
So when did you start Triumph Steps?
Well, I'm a psychotherapist and I've been in mental health for over 25 years. So I've
Yeah.
had a community mental health center for the past 18
Oh,
years.
what's it called?
And it's called Healthy Connections.
Okay.
It's very close to Coral Gables Hospital. So we've been helping the community there for many, many years. A few years ago, I just had like an awakening in terms of my professional life. I was getting kind of in a rut in the community mental health center, and I just started to meditate and to kind of pray for guidance for something new. And this is how Triumph Steps kind of came up. And one of my ideas is that if we teach children early on to think correctly, they're not going to end up in my clinic a few years down the road. That's my hope, that if we do this universally, you would definitely be helping with the mental health crisis that we're presently experiencing. We're very concerned about all the shootings and kids killing themselves at a younger and younger age. The suicide rate has increased tremendously. So we're worried about all these things, but we're not really bringing something as simple as teaching them how to be happy early on in schools.
That's a very interesting approach to all of this. I think it's amazing. At what
Thanks.
age would you start these kind of lessons?
They start from, we can teach children from K through 12, all throughout their school experience. We have children there for 12 years. I feel like we have a captive audience for 12 years where we could be drilling these things in terms of the skills and the ways that they need to be happy for 12 years. I think by that time we could really have laid a foundation that would be very strong to have a much happier society. So we start early in pre-K. We can start.
Wow, that's a great time to start. I mean, kids really
Mhm.
understand this curriculum all the way down to pre-K.
You know that it's so simple. I have some posters. I have like very, very powerful visual aids for the little ones, and I have some posters where I have like a head with a beautiful garden, and I always tell them this beautiful garden are all your positive thoughts, and any child knows what a positive thought is. The thoughts that make you happy. The moment fear comes in, I tell them that it's like weed going in a garden. Weed grows very fast and it kills all those positive thoughts. So I make them aware of what are things that can destroy that garden. What are some of the phrases that they say to themselves that would create fear and would then destroy the beautiful flower garden that they could have. Just with that visual aid, they understand what they need to do with their mind. Also, they catch themselves and they say, oh, this is something that makes me, this is a thought that makes me feel good and makes me feel happy. And this is one that doesn't. They start to differentiate and since very, very early on. So we use different strategies, same concepts, different strategies to help them understand depending on their age.
So
Do
how
we have
long?
another poster? Go ahead.
Okay, go. No, no, no. Keep talking. Finish your thought.
That we,
Absolutely.
we have we have another poster that it's our step 6, which is life is a boomerang. Be prepared to welcome what we give. So we have a child like throwing some flowers to the universe, I guess, and then those flowers coming back to them. And they clearly understand that basically their actions have reactions, right? And then we have the little other person next to it throwing things that are not so good, and then they're all coming back to them. And we explain to them that basically our actions have reactions and have consequences. But not only our actions, also our thoughts. Thoughts have consequences, right? When we think positive thoughts, we know that neuroscience tells us that we do the serotonin and all the happy hormones, and when we are in stress, cortisol is what it releases. So even thoughts have consequences. So they get those pictures and they start to really get the message.
Well, I think that that's something that's deeply overlooked in our society. People don't realize that these thoughts are linked to physical responses inside of our body internally.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
thoughts and feelings really have a physical impact, a psychosomatic
Absolutely.
impact.
Absolutely. Yes, 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 yes.
So I
So
mean,
that's what we're trying to teach.
it's a fascinating idea. How long would this curriculum go on for? I mean, like time wise within the day, like would you adjust it to be, a little lengthier for like teenagers, or in an
So,
ideal
so
world, what would
yes,
you do?
in the ideal world, I would, for the little ones, I would probably do an hour a week, and I would divide that hour into 12 minutes a day because they can get some of the messages. The program has some audio messages where we try to have the child listen to it in a more relaxed, calm way because we already know with neuroscience that when we're in a certain level of relaxation, we learn easier, right? So we would use probably 12 minutes a day for the little ones. And for the other ones, we would also do the 12 minutes a day, but maybe 1 hour a week of more extensive talk and where they're able to express a little bit more of what's going on and give them more tools. So that would be to me the ideal. We don't have to, but it does, it is important to do it regularly. I always tell my clients, my patients, my schools that this needs to be considered like the hygiene of the mind.
No, I
So
think
when you think about it,
you know what? I
when
think
you
it's a
think,
realistic goal, and something funny that I learned in the radio business is that they're always monitoring what people are listening in the radio business. They have these people monitors, and they give them out to a select group of surveyors and find out what they listen to. And they
Mhm,
said that based on new technology and internet radio and all that stuff, that the typical
mhm,
listener stays tuned in for about 20 to 25 minutes. Whereas
mhm,
like they used to always sell 1 hour programs on the radio. Now they've started selling a lot more 30-minute programs, which on the
mhm,
radio, like commercial radio, are
mhm,
25 minutes long, because that's the
mhm,
attention span. That's what you get.
mhm,
So I think
mhm,
it's
mhm,
a great idea to fit a very important
mhm.
message into a shorter time frame.
A little bit of hygiene of the mind on a daily basis, right? We brush our teeth every day, we take a shower every day. Well, the mind also needs that little bit of hygiene on a daily basis. And then we hope that the child obviously is going to pick up some of these skills and practice them throughout the day. But it's a continuous reminder, and that should be our goal in schools.
Well, another issue that I've seen emphasized regarding this is connection to community. This is something that would greatly impact people's connection to their community. Isn't that true?
Absolutely.
How so?
This is
Why?
this
Why
is
is
where
that? Explain that, because that's really
I'm
interesting.
so grateful. I'm so grateful to the Children's Trust, because they actually have they were able to give Triumph Steps a couple of grants to help us connect a lot more with the community
Hmm.
and teach in this whole thing. Parents are key element to this, and also obviously the teachers. And so, and for them also to understand these concepts and get the knowledge of, hey, this is what we're trying to do with the children, but you also need to be able to help your child, that if they're thinking this way, we're not going to be putting all these erroneous thought patterns and luggage and baggage that we have, that we're able to actually help the child also do what they need to do to be happier. One of the elements that it's tied into happiness, one of those high elements is sense of community. So when we're actually connected with our community, we're much happier. We're individuals that just came to cooperate with each other and to collaborate and to just, that's what we were born for. And we have kind of, in society, kind of thought that we have to be in this competition. And when we already know, and science already know, and plenty of research tells us that when we cooperate with each other, when we collaborate with each other, we get much farther ahead in life than when we're competing with each other. And that is, I think, what the Children's Trust has allowed me to do when I go into the community, and I'm able to talk about all these principles.
Well, that's one of the things that we often discuss about arts education, and particularly music education, because music is mostly a team sport, which is that it
Hmm.
enhances cooperation, which yields
Hmm.
benefits just because of learning how to cooperate later in life, and how
Hmm.
there's a lot of damage going on in our school system because all of these arts programs, especially the ones like music and
Hmm.
theater and
Hmm.
dance, that teach collaboration and art. Kind of. I mean, it's a different pursuit,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
all of these collaborative efforts that are not reading, writing, and arithmetic have been kind of
Hmm.
trimmed away from the school day.
Hmm.
So
I think that I think there's a big group of people helping them understand the big mistake that we've made, and they are bringing those programs back little by little. So I'm very optimistic about what's happening, and with all the mental health crisis and the shootings and what's going on, I think they're awakening. They're listening more to really the things that are helping a society to reach fulfillment and purpose. And it is not by learning math or science. I always tell people that, listen, as a psychotherapist, in the 25 plus years that I have in mental health, I have never once in my entire life had a patient come in depressed because they forgot trigonometry from 10th grade, right? Or, oh my God, I'm so anxious. I don't remember who fought in World War One. Never, right? The things they come in all boil down to the same thing. You know, they may have been having problems with their wives or their husbands, their children. Somebody, you know, they may have lost a relationship. Anything that happens, when you really boil down to see what it is, it's that they're looking for tools to be happier. That's basically what they're all looking for. And we basically have completely forgotten to teach them how to be happy.
No, it's a fascinating concept. I think that it's something that totally has a place in our schools and, could really make a huge impact with the next generation. Beatriz, tell our listeners, where could they take this conversation onto the internet after the program? Where can they find you on Twitter and Facebook or a website? Where can they keep in touch?
Yes. My website is Triumph Steps, Triumph, and I'm going to spell it. People think that I've said Trump. It's not Trump. It's
Triumph.
Close, but it's Triumph. TriumphSteps, steps, triumphsteps.com is my website. And they can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Triumph Steps. And I'm also on Facebook. We actually have an event coming up for parents on October 12th at the South Point Elementary School. And I would love for our listeners, if they're able to come join us. The event is going to be posted in my Facebook page, and I would love to have as many parents and listeners to come join us.
One more time, tell our listeners where they can meet you, when they can meet you, at South Point Elementary, and the address if you have it on hand.
South Point Elementary. Ooh, it's in Miami Beach. Let me see if I have it handy here.
That's over on 4th Street, right?
Yes, it is on 4th Street.
Like 4th Street in Alton, something like that, South Point Elementary?
Yes.
Over
and it
on
would
Miami
be
Beach.
in Miami Beach. It would be October 12th, 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. So it will be 3 hours where I'm going to be giving parents all the resources and tools that they can have for them to be happier, so they can transfer this to the children, and we start changing what we're seeing at the present moment.
Well, if you're listening,
the event will be posted in my Facebook as well. So Triumph Steps.
Well, Beatriz, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to come on the show tonight.